You okay? Yeah, are you?
All good.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. ears. What a piece of work is man. Now is the winter of our discontent made glorious summer by this son of York. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers. I dare do all that may become a man, who dares do more is none. Follow your spirits, and upon this charge, cry God for Harry, England, and St. George. Yes! Doesn't it make you want to leap on your horse and ride off into the sunset? Some incredible words spoken by some of Shakespeare's most famous leading men. And this year, the 12th year of the Performing Shakespeare Finals, we are celebrating two really important leading players in Shakespeare's time. Two men without whom we would definitely not be standing here today. Hemmings and Condell, who in 1623 published the first folio, the collection of Shakespeare's works. Now you might be thinking, hang on a minute, Jen, we've seen the photos of last year. Here we are in really glamorous surroundings on this really celebratory year, and yet here you are dressed in a costume that might be more fitted to somebody in the pits with the groundlings. Well, this year I am celebrating Elizabeth Wheaton. And Elizabeth Wheaton was mentioned in the will of Henry Condell. And Elizabeth Wheaton was a theatre gatherer, a real person, an old faithful servant who worked here in the theatres of Shakespeare's London. She would have collected in the box office takings, done running repairs backstage, and sometimes, yes, scandalously, ladies and gentlemen, a woman would have stood upon the stage, possibly in one of the crowd scenes, or even as one of the minor characters if one of the men didn't turn up. I wonder why. Maybe he had drunk too much ale the night before. And without Elizabeth and the other people who worked backstage in all of our theatres, the plays, the beautiful scenes that appeared before our very eyes wouldn't have run smoothly. And today, along with Elizabeth, we celebrate all of those unsung heroes, your teachers, your parents, the staff of the English Speaking Union, who work long hours to make sure that you young people have the gift of oracy. The gift to be able to express yourselves and to be understood, but more importantly, to understand. To be listened to, but also to listen. And this lies at the heart of the beliefs of the English Speaking Union ever since it was created, as it rose out of the embers of the First World War in 1918. And through the Performing Shakespeare competition, our incredible young performers are able to walk just 1 mile in somebody else's shoes. They're able to look at the plays from the inside out, rather than, as so often in schools, from the outside in. And through that, they are able to facilitate conversations, really difficult conversations about race, about gender, about equality, about religion, and about politics. And maybe, just maybe, develop a deeper understanding of the wonderful strengths and the huge fragility of the human condition. And it is that Shakespeare wrote about so beautifully. And so before we begin this afternoon's proceedings, I would like to introduce to the stage today one of our honoured guests, somebody that will be joining our judging panel. She's the Director of Education here at Shakespeare's Globe. She's had over 20 years of experience in theatre in education, and she also produced the very first full-length family performance, the Midsummer Mechanicals, here at Shakespeare's Globe. So ladies and gentlemen, please give a very warm welcome to our honoured guest, Lucy Cuthbertson.
Hello everybody, thank you so much for being here. Very excited to host this event for the second year, but particularly I think to have it in this space in the Sam Wanamaker Playhouse this year. So welcome to Shakespeare's Globe. Sometimes we call it the mothership, I think that's fair enough. I just want to thank all of you young people for having the interest to enter this competition, to have the interest in enough interest in Shakespeare to want to enter the competition and to put all that work in with those texts. I think that, for me, is the most exciting thing. Because my job here as Director of Education is all about you. It's all about how you relate to Shakespeare and what you will do with Shakespeare. How you take it on, how you feel empowered and able to make it your own, and to have your own opinions, and to wrestle with it a bit, and to maybe end up loving some of it and maybe hating bits of it and to be critical of it where it needs to be criticised, but ultimately to engage with it. That's what we're all about here at the Globe. And there's quite a lot of adults in this room, as you'll see. Some of them are obviously judging you today. Okay, fair enough. Some of us make our living professionally from engaging in Shakespeare. Shakespeare's our job. So therefore we're supposed to know some stuff about Shakespeare. And we often appear like we really know what we're talking about. I've worked in Shakespeare for about 30 years, but I still don't have a clue about so much of it. And we're learning new stuff every day. And really, what we think about Shakespeare, it just doesn't matter. It's what you think about Shakespeare. It really genuinely is, because you're the next generation taking these works on. And they're yours to explore and to interpret how you want to do that. So, although we're judging you, obviously on your performances, your interpretations are yours, and that's what really matters. I just want to explain very briefly about this space you're in. Sam Wanamaker Playhouse. You've seen the main stage. That's where Shakespeare's Company's replica, obviously, performed in the summer months. In the winter months in England, unlike today, it was very, very cold, and the companies came indoors to spaces like this. So this is a replica of an indoor theatre, a Jacobean indoor theatre. It would have been much more cramped than it is today. There'd be far more people in if you can believe that. It'd probably be equally uncomfortable. Sorry about that. But we always say Shakespeare's quite uncomfortable, so you can work with that a bit. And just a few tips as performers. So the lights are really bright. I'm on the stage now. I cannot see anyone in the lower gallery. I can sort of see the people here and sort of see the people here. I can't see anyone in the upper gallery. And yet your job is to make us feel like you can see us and that you're talking to us. So you just need to be aware of where the audience is. And this is really quite high, and to see the people there, performers, you need to be kind of looking up. It's a bit of a wall of faces. A very important thing, performers, is you're going to be mic'd, but as in Shakespeare's days and both our spaces, none of our actors are ever actually mic'd. So your mics are just for the stream, and you will still need to project as normal. And these people here are just as important as the people here and here and here, and you need to be very aware of just trying to talk to everyone, especially in both two sections, but in the oracy section you need to be talking to us and making us feel like you're looking at us and taking everybody in. So I wish all of you the absolute best of luck. Please enjoy it. It's over so quickly. So just take your time, be calm, show us what you can do. It's a really giving spaces. Everyone here wants you to do your absolute best, and they're all rooting for you, and it will feel very safe and very welcome. I can't wait to see what you do, and thank you so much for being here.
Some good tips there, young people. I hope you were paying attention, all of you. So, alongside Lucy, we have our esteemed judging panel, who we very definitely need to welcome, don't we, young people? Yes. So first of all, our chair judge, they're out there somewhere. I think they're lit by little bug eyes over there. So we've got Dr. Victoria Sperry, over there, woo, senior lecturer. She's a senior lecturer at Exeter University and is about to publish her book, Shakespeare's Adolescence, so you need to pay attention to these guys this afternoon, definitely. Then we are joined by Rowan Mackenzie, who's the founder of Shakespeare Unbarred, an artistic director, it says here, of multiple theatre companies. So she's out there somewhere. There she is. Give her a round of applause, everybody. Neil Hancock, who is a lovely friend of mine. I've known him for many, many years. He has ran my hand over many, many times as we've done little performances of Demetrius and Helena in the gardens of Shakespeare's birthplace. Neil is an experienced Shakespeare actor, and he's also a very popular podcaster. Give him a round of applause, everybody. Then we've got Jatinder Verma, MBE, who's a British theatre director and arts activist. Over here, I think. There we go. And also we have Abigail Cruttenden, who doesn't know it, but she kept me company one Christmas when I was terribly poorly with bronchitis, and all I could do was watch repeats on the television of a very famous television programme that she was once in called Sharp, which is absolutely brilliant. She's a fabulous theatre actress and is also on our small screens today, so give her a lovely round of applause. So now it is time to start the competition. As most of you know, the format is that the young people will come out, they will explain to you why they chose this particular piece of Shakespeare, what it means to them. It's a really important part of their presentation, and then they will go into their performances. Please respect everything they do. They are brave, they are fearless, they are inspirational young people. So really do give them your full enthusiasm this afternoon on the stage. And we're going to welcome our first performers, who most appropriately have chosen an extract from The Tempest. And The Tempest was the very first play that was listed in the first folio, which might seem strange, as it was actually Shakespeare's final solo play, but it's the first one to appear in the first folio. So ladies and gentlemen, please give a huge round of applause to Daniel and Zachary from Haberdashers' Ask Boys School, performing as Ariel and Prospero from The Tempest.
Hello, this is Zachary. But you can call me Zach, and I'll also be Prospero today. This is Daniel. And you can call me Daniel, but today I'll also be playing Ariel in our performance for you of quite an early scene. Act 1, Scene 2. Act 1, Scene 2 of quite a late Shakespeare play. The Tempest. The Tempest. In this scene, the audience is still trying to figure out what these characters are like, as Shakespeare is still establishing the world that they live in. A Mediterranean island. A Mediterranean island. But what is clear, or at least what we thought was clear, was the status levels between these characters. Prospero is quite clearly the person in control here, and he's a more measured character than Ariel, who seems to be a lot more overexcited and jittery. Thank you. Prospero, though, is clearly got his power from magical books and learning. Ariel shares a similar ability, being able to use magic. However, his magic seems to come from more natural, if not supernatural, sources. But what we thought was a really key theme in this duologue was the question of freedom, because Prospero has used that power to enslave Ariel for himself. And whilst that may have been seen as acceptable at the time, for modern audiences, this can be a very uncomfortable topic. It's not that simple, though. When Prospero first came on the island... 12 years ago. 12 years ago, he freed Ariel, who had been imprisoned in a tree by a spell. And when he did this, it kind of feels like that Ariel has switched from one form of imprisonment to another. At the start of the rehearsal process, we thought Ariel hated doing jobs for Prospero. However, as we explored the language that he uses, such as all hail great master, and the joy he takes in explaining the work he's done, we came to believe Ariel actually does enjoy this work. I mean, after all, his work is carrying out Prospero's cunning plans using his magical abilities, which is a lot better than doing the laundry or gathering wood. Or being stuck in a tree. Or being stuck in a tree. We tried to keep this tension between allegiance and freedom at play throughout the entirety of our performance, because we definitely felt that the scene was most interesting when this tension was upheld without resolving even one of the elements. And as we played through the scene and rehearsed it over the weeks, we actually found ourselves in a father-son dynamic, which completely cast a new light on the way we viewed these two characters.
And this idea really well translates into a modern-day context.
For example,
A teen who wants to go out and meet his friends, which is very similar for Ariel's hunt for freedom.
and an over-controlling parent who, much like Prospero, wants to reaffirm the current power dynamic and keep the relationship as it always has been.
And, of course, gives the evidently timeless speech of, "Look at all I've done for you."
Or in this case, "Dost thou forget?" Or, "How now, Moody?"
Except this time it's Zachary instead of my dad, which is significantly worse.
Thank you for that. At the end of the duologue, we do eventually see Ariel submitting to Prospero. And the question we're now faced with is, how long will this submission last? Or will Prospero, like all good parents will have to do one day, release Ariel from his service?
And with that, we are delighted to perform for you Act 1, Scene 2 of The Tempest.
I am ready now. Approach, my Ariel, come!
All hail, great master, grave sir, hail. I come to answer thy best pleasure, be it to fly, to swim, to dive into the fire, to ride on the curled clouds, to thy strong bidding task, Ariel, and all his quality.
Hast thou, spirit, performed to point the tempest that I bade thee?
To every article. I boarded the king's ship, now on the beak, now in the waist, the deck, in every cabin I flamed amazement. Sometimes I divide and burn in many places. On the topmast yards and bowsprit would I flame distinctly. Then meet and join. Jove's lightning, the precursors of the dreadful thunderclaps, more momentary, and sight outrunning when not the sulphurous roaring of the most mighty Neptune seemed to besiege and make his bold waves tremble. Yea, his dread trident shake.
My brave spirit, who was so firm, so constant, that his coil would not infect his reason.
And not a soul but felt a fever of the mad and played some tricks of desperation. All but mariners plunged into the foaming brine and quit the vessel. Then, all afire with me, the king's son, Ferdinand, was the first man that leapt, cried, "Hell is empty, and all the devils are here."
Why, that's my spirit. But was this not nigh shore?
Close by, my master.
But are they, Ariel, safe?
Not a hair perished. On their sustaining garments, not a blemish, but fresher than before, and, as thou badest me, in troops I've dispersed them bout the isle. The king's son have I landed by himself, whom I left cooling of the air with sighs, sitting his arms in this sad knot.
Of the king's ship, the mariners, say thou how is disposed, and the rest of the fleet?
Safely in harbour is the king's ship, in the deep nook where thou once callest me up at midnight to fetch dew from the still vexed muse. There she's hid. The mariners, all under hatches stowed, and with charms joined to their suffered labour, I have left asleep. As for the rest of the fleet, which I disperse, they all have met again, and are upon the Mediterranean float bound sadly home for Naples, supposing that they saw the king's ship wrecked and his great person perished.
Ariel, thy charge exactly is performed. But there's more work. What is the time of the day?
Past mid-season.
At least 2 glasses. The time 'twixt 6, and must both be spent most preciously.
Is there more toil? Let me remember what thou hast promised, which is not yet performed me.
How now? Moody? What is it thou canst demand?
My liberty.
Before the time be out, no more.
I quickly remember I have done thee worthy service, told thee no lies, made thee no mistaking, served without grudge or grumblings. Thou didst promise to beat me a full year.
Dost thou forget from what a torment I did free thee from?
No, sir.
Thou hast, and thinkst it much to tread the ooze of the salt deep, to run upon the sharp winds of the north, to do me business in the veins of the earth when it is baked with frost.
I do not, sir.
Thou liest, malignant thing! Hast thou forgot the foul witch Sycorax, who of age and envy was grown into a hoop? Hast thou forgot her?
No, sir.
Where was she born? Speak, tell me.
Sir, in Arju.
Oh, was she so? For I must once in a month recount where thou hast been, which thou forgetst. This damned witch Sycorax, for mischiefs manifold and sorceries, terrible to enter human hearing. From Argia thou knowest was banished. For one thing she did, they would not take her life. Is this not true?
Aye, sir. Thank you.
Well, what a way to start the show, hey, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely terrific. Although I have to say, that scene does make me feel a little bit uneasy. I've just finished performing as Prospero in The Tempest. And quite often when we're rehearsing plays, we nickname the scenes so that we can quite easily pick up, oh, it's the beach scene, oh, it's the court scene, oh, it's the wedding scene. And that scene for us was called The Long Scene. Because that bit is just one tiny little bit of the scene. Prospero has to introduce the story, introduce Ariel, introduce Caliban, and then introduce Ferdinand before getting to exit with great relief before the next scene starts. So it does make me feel a little uneasy. But absolutely brilliant. What an incredible way to start. So hopefully our judges have now finished scribbling. I can see them still eyes down in the darkness, making their notes. We're going to move on now to our next performance. And so from one of Shakespeare's quite cerebral plays. It's quite thoughtful, The Tempest. It's quite interesting. And we use The Tempest quite often in workshops to introduce the idea that Shakespeare quite often turns things on its heads. Caliban, the monster. You'll know this, you lot, having been in workshops with us. Evil, nasty, earthy creature suddenly out of nowhere has the most beautiful speech. And Shakespeare really does turn things on its head with that production. Our next production is one of Shakespeare's darkest tragedies. And before I say the name, I probably should leave the building, spit on the floor, turn around 3 times, sing a little tune and knock on the front door to be allowed back in. Because our next performance is Luke from Queen Elizabeth Grammar, who will be performing the character of Macbeth.
Hello, my name is Luke, and today I will be performing Macbeth's Dagger Soliloquy from Act 2, Scene 1. At the start of this scene, Macbeth is just approaching King Duncan when he stops and he sees this visual dagger right there in front of him. I personally think that this is his guilt, telling him not to kill Duncan, not to do the deed. But, on the other hand, it could be the witches doing, luring him into their evil and inevitable trap. I chose this speech because Macbeth is such a complex and diverse character with so many dimensions and emotions like fear, anguish, rage, ambition. And this is mostly the fear and ambition shown in this speech. The fear of this dagger telling him not to kill Duncan or there will be consequences in your mind. And the ambition to kill King Duncan and become the most powerful man in all of Scotland. I also think that this is a major turning point in the play, because at the start, Macbeth is this noble general, adored by the king and his subjects. But by the end of this scene, he turns into this bloodthirsty, power-hungry, killing machine. I also think that this murder starts the knock-on effects of all the murders soon to happen in this play. Thank you. Is this a dagger which I see before me? The handle towards my hand. Come, let me clutch thee. I have thee not, and yet I see thee still. Art now not fatal vision, sensible as to feeling, or as to sight? Or art thou a dagger of the mind, a false creation, proceeding from the oppressed brain? And yet I see thee in a form
as palpable as this, which I now draw. Thou marshals me the way as I was going, and such an instrument as I was to use. Mine eyes would be made fools of the other senses, or else worth all the rest. I see thee still, and now on my blade it is dungeoned gouts of blood, which were not so before. There's no such thing. It is the bloody business which informs us to mine eyes. Now o'er the half-world, nature seems dead, and wicked dreams abuse the curtained sleep. Witchcraft celebrates pale Hecate's offerings, and withered murder alarumed by Essential, the wolf, whose howls his watch, and thus, with its stealthy pace and Tarquin's ravishing strides, moves like a ghost. Thou shorn firm, said earth, hear not my steps, for which way they walk, for fear that thy very stones prate of my whereabout. Whilst I threat, he lives! Words to the heat of deeds too cold breath gives. I go, and it is done. The bell invites me. Hear not, Duncan, for it is a knell that summons thee to heaven or to hell.
What did I tell you, ladies and gentlemen? What did I tell you about these young people? Aren't they just incredible? They just make you hold your breath whilst they deliver these most incredible lines. And to stand here on this stage and to talk out at you on your own. I think Luke is year 7. Yeah? Oh, year 7. He's just incredible. And this year we've been using some of the lines of Macbeth in the workshops that we've done with the young people today, investigating Shakespeare's plays, because quite often we're tempted to do something with Shakespeare's plays. People nowadays like to do something with them, to place them somewhere, to make them something other than the scripts that they are. But we've been using Macbeth in the same way that we've used Romeo and Juliet before, to look for those hidden stage direction. So the first few lines that Romeo has, but soft. Shh. What light through yonder window breaks? What do we need? We need a window and a light. It is my lady, it is my love. We need Juliet. See how she leans her cheek upon her hand. She needs to be leaning her cheek upon her hand. Oh, that I were a glove upon that hand that I might touch that cheek. There is so much embedded within Shakespeare that leads you and tells you which way you need to go with it. And we use the first encounter between Macbeth and Lady Macbeth this year in our workshops to drive forward the movement that the students needed to find within that text, without having to think, where do we need to set it? What costumes do we need to wear? What deep-seated root problem within humanity do we need to solve with this? All we did was, where do you need to walk? Where do you need to stand? And what do you need to do? And it's amazing what you can find hidden within the text. So next up, ladies and gentlemen, we move from tragedy to one of Shakespeare's great comedies and possibly the most accessible of Shakespeare's plays. So ladies and gentlemen, we now welcome Orla from Manchester High School, who will be performing as Titania from A Midsummer Night's Dream.
Hi everyone, I'm Orla, and today I will be performing Act 2, Scene 1 from A Midsummer Night's Dream. In this scene, I will play Queen Titania, Queen of the Fairies. She knows she's a queen. Nobody else in this room stands above her, not even her husband Oberon, who's king of the fairies. I think this is great to represent, as in the time of Shakespeare, women were seen as someone to go home to after a long day at work. And for Shakespeare to have portrayed Titania as such a strong character was really forward at the time. In this scene, Titania is protecting her adoptive son from Oberon's evil thoughts of making him a henchman. This protectivity comes from the reason why she's adopted this boy. He is her best friend's son, and she lost her best friend. Oberon wants to make him his henchman, and she would do anything to stop this. I can relate to this because I have a little sister and would do anything to protect her. Shakespeare has also managed to portray something that we feel modern day. Titania is telling Oberon that their jealous fights are making a change in the natural cause. The human mortals can no longer tell the difference between winter or summer. Think of climate change. This has made a huge impact, and the fact that we can make differences from then to now is incredible. I really hope you enjoy this piece. I've enjoyed working with it and thinking how Titania thinks. Thank you. These are the forgeries of jealousy. And never since the middle summer spring met we on hill, dale, forest, or mead, by rushy brook or in the beach margin of the sea, to dance our ringlets to the whistling wind. But with thy brawls thou hast disturbed our sport, and the winds, piping to us in vain, as in revenge, have sucked from the sea contagious fogs, which falling in the land have made every pelting river so proud that they have overborne their continents. The ox has stretched his yoke in vain. The ploughman lost his sweat, and the green corn hath rotted ere the youth attained a beard. The 9 men's morris is filled up with wood, and the quanton maize for lack of tread is undistinguishable. And far in the fresh lap of the crimson rose, frost as in mockery set, the spring, the summer, the childing autumn, angry winter, change their wonted liveries in the mazed world. By their increase, thou knows not which is which. And this same prodigy of evil comes from our debate, from our dissension. We are their parents, an original. Thank you.
Ah, Shakespeare's women, eh? I feel quite proud to be stood here as one of Shakespeare's women today, dressed in the clothing that would have been worn on the farm of his mum, Mary Arden, out in Wilmcote, where for one season I was a milkmaid. And so I know how it feels, how it smells, literally how it smells, to have been Elizabethan. One afternoon, my gorgeous cow Trudy gave me the most delightful pat on the back. Oh yes, I'm not wearing my coif upon my head today because it's way too hot, but literally from here all the way down to here was a line of cow poo. And so when Shakespeare talks about nature's changing course untrimmed and greasy Joan keeling the pot, having to wash a cauldron within which has been cooked lard and onion and garlic before the invention of fairy liquid, I can tell you what that feels like. And it's in those moments when Shakespeare starts to take a step off the history books and become a real tactile person who lived and breathed and had a mum who had 7 sisters. Orla talks about having 1 sister. I've got 2, that's bad enough. Can you imagine having 7 big sisters? It's not a wonder that Shakespeare writes so brilliantly about women, for he was surrounded by them, not just his mum's sisters, but his sisters and his daughters, Susanna and Judith. So now we're going to move from a mystical Midsummer Night's Dream into the forests of Arden, as Eli from Hitchin Boys' School performs as Jaques from As You Like It.
Hello everyone, my name is Eli Morris. I'm in Year 8 at Hitchin Boys' School, and I'm going to be presenting a soliloquy called The 7 Ages of Man, performed by the character Jacques, sometimes pronounced Jaques, in Act 2, Scene 7 of As You Like It. Jacques is a rather melancholic character, and at this point in the play, he's expressing that life is essentially just one big performance, like the different parts or characters on a stage. In this very play, you see a number of man playing. The soliloquy interests me because it encapsulates the whole of life and condenses it into just 7 stages. The baby, the child, the teenager, the young adult, the middle-aged, the old-aged, and the extremely old age. What fascinates me the most, and perhaps why Shakespeare is still so popular today, is that even after more than 400 years, it's still so applicable and relatable to our everyday lives in the 21st century. I have to admit, I am sometimes the boy mentioned by Jacques who goes unwillingly to school. At the other end of life, I sadly have a grandmother with Alzheimer's. It's really difficult to see. If you listen closely, you may be able to figure out which stage you identify with. I hope you enjoy. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. At first, the infant, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms. Then the whining schoolboy, with a satchel and shining morning face, creeping like snail unwillingly to school. And then the lover, sighing like furnace with a woeful ballad made to his mistress's eyebrow. Soldier, full of strange oaths and bearded like the pard, jealous in honour, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation, even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice, in fair round belly, with a good cape and lined, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances. And so he plays his part. The 6th age shifts into a lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side, his youthful hose well saved in a world too wide for his shrunk shank and his big manly voice, turning again toward childish treble, pipes in his sound. Last scene of all that ends this strange, eventful history is second childishness and mere oblivion. Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything.
Makes you hold your breath, doesn't it, for just a moment. Those pin drop moments in theatre, they're the ones that we're always looking for, we're always hoping for in a production. It's quite incredible. Although I don't think I really want to be reminded which one of the 7 ages I am getting towards, as I still feel that I'm probably Juliet, although more often than not I'm cast as the nurse. I've still got my own teeth though, so that's fine, she says, squinting to read what's on the paper next. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to move once again from comedy to tragedy, and possibly one of Shakespeare's most famous plays, and one that quite often brings forth quite a lot of discussions about what inspired him to write this play. Was it the death of his son Hamlet, or was it perhaps the death of his father? It really depends when he wrote it. Of course, it's all about a young boy dealing with the death of his father. But again, there's a sensitivity in the way that Shakespeare writes for his female characters. And here we have Jessica from Moreton Hall, who will be performing as Ophelia from Hamlet.
Hello, I'm Jessica, and today I will be performing from Act 2, Scene 1 of Hamlet by Shakespeare. This was a play written between 1599 to 1601. It is thought to be set roughly between the 1300s to the 1400s. I will be playing Ophelia. She's a young noblewoman. She's Polonius's daughter and is potentially going to marry Hamlet. I chose this piece because it shows lots of emotions, such as fear, upset, worry, and the need for comfort. In this piece, I aim to show that Ophelia has experienced something that's had a huge effect on her mental health. She is scared and scarred by the experience. At the start of the piece, she's anxious whether or not she should tell her father. She's not sure if he'll believe her. When I act this, I like to think back to a time where I've been uncertain of what to say or do. In the middle of the piece, she's recalling the moment when Hamlet came to her. She reenacts it. When I do this, I like to think back to a time where I felt scared or threatened. At the end of the piece, she goes to her father, expecting comfort. Instead, he asks her if she brought this upon herself. She's upset by this. She expected him to be comforting her. She did not expect an accusation. When I do this, I like to think back to a time where I've been falsely accused. To help me get this piece really realistic, I like to think back to times where I can relate to these emotions. I also like to imagine the room I'm in. I have Polonius sitting downstage left, Ophelia entering from upstage right. I like to think about what Polonius would react. I like to think about what he would say. This really helps me to make Ophelia's reactions more real. Thank you. Oh, my lord! I have been so affrighted. My lord, as I was sewing in my closet, Lord Hamlet, with his doublet all unbraced, no hat upon his head, his stockings fouled, ungartered, and down-gyved his ankle, pale as his shirt, his knees knocking each other, and with a look so piteous in purport, as if he had been loosed out of hell. To speak of horrors. He comes before me. He took me by my wrist, held me hard, then goes he to all the length of his arm. With his other hand thus over his brow, he falls to such a perusal of my face, as though he would draw it. Long stayed he so, but at last, with a little shaking of mine arm, he thrice his head, waving us up and down. And then he raised a sigh, so piteous and profound, as it did seem to shatter all his bulk and end his being. That done, he let me go. And with his head thus over his shoulder turned, he seemed to find his way out without his eyes. For out of doors he went, without their help, and to the last, bended their light on me. No. I did. I did deny him access to me and reject his letters. Thank you.
Brilliant. It's interesting, isn't it? Lots of father-daughter relationships in these plays. Performing at Shakespeare's birthplace, you have to know something from every single one of Shakespeare's plays because you are asked to perform at the audience's request. And more often than not, it was Romeo and Juliet. And so 3 of us decided that we would put on Romeo and Juliet in 2 hours with over 80 costume changes. And it was very sweaty, not very romantic at all. But we very quickly realised that the first half is all about Romeo, and what a drip is Romeo. Oh my life, what a whinge. And he gets 2.5 pages to die. Whereas Juliet, she gets about 5 lines. She wakes up, hears a noise, and that's it, gone. But the second half is all about Juliet's relationship with her dad. And Shakespeare, when he was writing Romeo and Juliet, and possibly a character of Ophelia in Hamlet, has teenage daughters. And whilst he might not be having the same arguments and conversations, there's certainly going to be some similarity. I have a teenage girl in my household at the moment, and she does not get on with her dad. There's lots of, you don't understand me, you don't know what it's like to be me, I hate you, hair flick, stomp up the stairs, door slam, poof, done. And it's when we start to think about how Shakespeare's life intertwines in the plays that they become so much more real for us. And so our next speech that we're looking at today is certainly one that has caused quite a lot of conversations. It's quite an incredible character. And so we're going to welcome to the stage Hanyu from the Perse School, who will be performing as Shylock from The Merchant of Venice.
Scene 1 from The Merchant of Venice. In this scene, Shylock, a Jewish moneylender, is explaining his reason for wanting revenge against Antonio, a Christian who, despite being the main character of the play, has belittled and mistreated Shylock due to their differences in religion. I chose this piece because I think the problem apparent in this scene and throughout the play is very prominent in the modern world, that is, bullying. In fact, something occurred during the time that I was choosing which piece to perform. So it encouraged me to choose this particular piece because it alluded to bullying. A friend of mine was bullied very badly, so badly that she was happy to stop doing the thing she loved because she was getting bullied for it. And do you know why the person bullied her? Jealousy. Purely because they were jealous of her achievements. However, in this scene and throughout the play, Shylock stands up against his bully and speaks up for himself and takes action against the bullying. He believes that Jews and Christians should be treated equally and shouldn't be treated differently because of their differences in religion. And I agree with him. I think everyone should be treated equally regardless of race, of gender, of age, of anything. And if you have that right taken from you, you have every right to speak up against it and take action against it. This is why I want to show Shylock not as the villain nor the antagonist of the play, but as a passionate human who will stand up for himself, his people, and what he believes in. To bait fish withal, if it'll feed nothing else, it'll feed my revenge. He had disgraced me and hindered me 500,000, laughed at my losses, mocked my gains, thwarted my bargains, scorned my nation. And what's his reason? I am a Jew. Had not a Jew eyes? Had not a Jew hands, organs, dimensions, senses, affections, passions? Fed with the same food, hurt with the same weapons, subject to the same diseases, healed by the same means, warmed and cooled by the same summer and winter as a Christian is? If you prick us, do we not bleed? If you tickle us, do we not laugh? If you poison us, do we not die? And if you wrong us, shall we not revenge? If we are like you in the rest, we will resemble you in that. If a Jew wrong a Christian, what is his humility? Revenge. And if a Christian wrong a Jew, what should his sufferance be? By Christian example. Why? Revenge! The villainy you teach me I will execute, and it shall go hard, but I will better the instruction. Thank you.
And I hope Hanu's friend is out there watching this and takes strength from her friend's incredible performance. Means something, doesn't it, when it means something to you? Just really quite incredible. And again, enables us to have all these difficult conversations that without Shakespeare's words, perhaps we wouldn't be brave enough to challenge. So brace yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, for our next performance. For with this play are the traditions of mayhem, chaos, death, even on stage, even off stage, accidents, all sorts. So let's hope that these two, with their very physical performance, have none of that. But just brace yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, as we have George and Archie from the King's School performing as Macbeth and Macduff from Macbeth.
I'm Archie Grace and I'm playing the part of Macduff.
Hello everyone, I'm called George Slater and I'm playing Macbeth in Act 5, Scene 8 of Macbeth.
In this scene, Macduff wants revenge on Macbeth because Macbeth has just killed his family. Only because the witches told him, beware Macduff. Macduff is angry and passionate and hates Macbeth. He will do anything to kill Macbeth because he has nothing else to live for. I chose this scene because we've been taught some stage combat before and I wanted to put it into action. This is a perfect meeting of two people ready to fight and lets us demonstrate our new skills in a scene full of energy, passion and hatred.
Throughout the play of Macbeth, it is a struggle between good and evil in the character's mind. I chose this scene because of the change of emotion in Macbeth when he finds out that the witches have tricked him and he's not invincible. Witchcraft, being a symbol of evil in the early 17th century, was very common due to the Jacobean audience. Recently, Macbeth's wife has committed suicide, and his army is losing the battle, but he still refuses to take his own life, even when facing defeat. Thank you. Why should I play the Roman fool and die on my own sword, whilst I see lives? The gashes do better upon them!
Turn, hellhound! Turn!
Of all men else I have avoided thee, but get thee back! My soul is too much charged with blood of thine already.
I have no words. My voice is in my fist. Bloody a villain. Then terms can give thee out!
Thou losest labour! As easy mayst thou the entrenchant air, with thy keen fist impressed to make me bleed. Let fall thy blade on vulnerable crests. I bear a charmed life, one that must not yield to one of woman born.
Spare thy charm, and let the angel who still hath served tell thee, Macduff was from his mother's womb, and timely ripped!
Accursed be the tongue that tells me so. For it hath cowed my better part of man. And be these juggling fiends no more believed, that palter with us in a double sense, to keep the word of promise to our ear, but break it to our hope. I'll not fight with thee.
Then yield, ye cowards, and live to be the show and gaze off time. I'll have thee, a rare monster are painted upon a pole, and underwrit. Here you may see the time.
I will not yield to kiss the ground before young Malcolm's feet, to be baited by the rabble's curse, and though Burnham Wood be come to Dunsinane, and thou opposed of no woman born, yet I will try the last before my body I throw down my warlike shield. Lay on, Macduff, and damned be him that first cries, Hold!
Honestly, cheering as a man's neck is broken. Honestly, behave yourselves. It's fabulous, isn't it? Isn't it great? We ran out of people last year for our production of Macbeth, and my daughter had to be in it. And she had to play Macduff's children, and she wanted to be killed in the most dramatic way possible. And all you need to do is get a plastic water bottle at that point of the neck break and just go with it. And it sounds brilliant. She's like, yeah, come on, Mom, let's make it more gory, shall we? What else can they do? Can they drag me by the hair when I'm dead? That would look good, wouldn't it? Audiences love a bit of gore, don't they? I think it was Michael Boyd's production of Titus Andronicus, where at the end of the play, in the big feast where the pie is brought forwards, and Tamora takes a big old chunk of her dead boys' bodies, and the pie was a real pie, and it filled the auditorium with the smell of pie, and you became part of that gory eating of Tamora's sons, Kieran and Demetrius. Can you imagine that, moms, eating your own sons in a pie? Shakespeare's brilliant, isn't he? And so, to another opposing pair of characters. He's really good, isn't he, at creating these real differences between the characters that he brings on stage. And so next we have Sam and Tristan from Sevenoaks School, who will be performing as Cassius and Brutus from Julius Caesar.
Hi, my name is Tristan.
My name's Sam.
And we're performing Act 4, Scene 3 from Julius Caesar. So some context from this scene in terms of the play. These are two army comrades that have been best mates most of their life and have just conspired to kill Caesar, and in doing so started a civil war, so it's not going great for them. In this scene, Brutus, my character, is accusing Cassius of corruption for defending Lucius Pella. And this is kind of just a sheer argument, which we really enjoyed playing around with.
So there's a lot of power exchange in this piece, because obviously it's two friends going back and forth to each other, but obviously it's very important in terms of the rest of the play as well, because it's a real focal turning point for the play, because these two friends have been good comrades up until now, when they have fallen apart and they're straight at each other's throats.
Another reason we really enjoyed playing around with this piece is because on this surface it is two friends just having it at each other. But when you go delve down deeper, it's kind of the sad breakdown of this friendship. And Brutus, through the piece, he goes from just sheer hatred from his friends to sadness to just he's done this friendship and he just wants to ridicule his old best mate.
It is also, to some degree, quite a grounded piece, because it has a kind of relatability to it, because it is two friends going at each other, having an argument. We hope you enjoy. That you have wronged me doth appear in this. For you have condemned and noted Lucius Pella for taking bribes here of the Sardians, wherein my letters, praying on his side, because I knew the man, were slighted off.
You wronged yourself to write in such a case.
In such a time as this, it is not meet that every nice offence should bear his comment.
Let me tell you, Cassius, you yourself are condemned to an itching palm, to sell and march your offices for gold to undeservers.
I, an itching palm. You know that you are Brutus that speak this, or by the gods the speech, or else you'll last.
The name Cassius honours this corruption, and chastisement doth therefore hide his head.
Chastisement?
Remember March. The Ides of March, remember? Did not great Julius bleed for justice's sake? What villain touched his body that did stab, and not for justice? What shall one of us that struck the foremost man of all this world, but for supporting robbers? Shall we contaminate our fingers with base bribes for so much trash as may be grasped thus? I would rather be a dog and bathe the moon in such a romance.
Brutus, be not me. I'll not endure it. You forget yourself to hedge me in. I am a soldier. I, elder than yourself, abler in practice to make conditions.
Go to. You are not Cassius.
I am.
I say you are not.
Urge me no more. I shall forget myself. Have mind upon your health and tempt me no further.
A waste-like man.
Is it possible?
Hear me, for I will speak. Must I give way and room to your rash choler? Shall I be frightened when a madman stares?
Oh, ye gods, must I endure all this?
All this? I more. Fret till your proud heart break. Go show your slaves how choleric you are. Make your bondmen tremble. Must I budge? Must I observe? Must I stand and crouch under your testy humour? By the gods, you shall digest the venom of your spleen. Though it do split you, from this day forth, I'll use you for my mirth. Yea, for my laughter when you are waspish.
Is it come to this?
You say you are better, soldier. Let it appear so. Make your vaunting true, and it shall please me well for mine own part. I shall be glad to learn of noble men.
You wrong me every way. You wrong me, Brutus. I said an elder soldier, not a better. Did I say better?
If you did, I care not.
When Caesar lives, he does not that have moved me.
Peace, peace! You durst not have tempted him.
I durst not.
No.
What does not tempt him?
For your life you durst not.
Do not presume too much upon my love. I may do that I shall be sorry for.
I think they enjoyed that, didn't they? Brilliant. 2 opposing scenes, 2 opposing characters, 4 opposing characters. Shakespeare's breadth of character is really quite incredible. Now, it would have taken Shakespeare 3 days to get from Stratford-upon-Avon down here to London via the Golden Cross Inn in Oxford. So it's very lucky today that we don't have to come on horseback, because our next competitor has come all the way from Lincoln, which might have taken us several days, months, weeks, who knows? I mean, it's lucky really that the trains are running today in comparison with last year. That's all I can say. And so next up, ladies and gentlemen, with an excellent performance is Cecilia from Lincoln Minster, who will be performing as Hamlet from Hamlet.
My name is Cecilia Flynn and I'm performing as Hamlet from Hamlet Act 2, Scene 2. For some context, in the scene prior to this, Prince Hamlet has just watched a play in which this play was able to conjure up all these emotions from absolutely nothing. This makes Hamlet think, well, what if he was in my situation? What if he had my emotions? For context, Hamlet's father, the king, has just been killed by his uncle, who then married his mother and took the throne. Hamlet feels completely alone in his situation and feels completely, utterly helpless. I chose this piece because I love the variety of emotions you get from it. You have grief and you have anger. You have a bit of a comedic element and you have this range that I really enjoy listening to, reading and watching. I really like Hamlet in general because seeing this monologue has led me to reading the play and then watching the play. And I love how Shakespeare has used this tragedy and has his comedic element on it. And I think it's really, really nice to listen to. And I think a lot of young people can also relate to Hamlet because he's lost his father. Grief and anger and rage is all they're timeless emotions. So I think a lot of young people, old people too, anyone can relate to Hamlet's emotions in the scene. Though by no means I do not hope they relate to what he did by the end of the play. I hope you enjoy. Now, I am alone. Oh, what a rogue and peasant slave am I! Is it not monstrous that this player here, but in a fiction, in a dream of passion, could force his soul so to his own conceit that from hard working all his visage wand, tears in his eyes, distraction in his aspect, a broken voice and his whole function suiting the forms to his conceit, and all for nothing. For Hecuba, what's Hecuba to him, or he to Hecuba, that he should weep for her? What would he do had he the cue and the motive for passion that I have? He would drown the stage with tears and cleave the general air of horrid speech, make mad the guilty, appall the free, confound the ignorant, and amaze indeed the very faculties of eyes and ears. Yet I, a dull and muddy-mettled rascal, peak, like John of Dreams, unpregnant of my cause, and cannot speak. No, not for a king, upon whose property and most dear life a damned defeat was made. Am I a coward? Who calls me villain, breaks my pate across, plucks my beard, blows it in my face, tweaks me by the nose, gives me the eye and the throat as deep as to the lungs? Who does me this? Ha! Swounds, I should take it. For it cannot be, but I'm pigeon-livered, and that gall to make oppression bitter. Or ere I should have fatted all these regions' kites with this slave's offal. Bloody, bawdy villain, remorseless, treacherous, lecherous, and kindless villain! Oh, vengeance! Why? What an ass am I? This is most brave, that I, son of a dear father, murdered, prompted to my revenge by heaven and hell, must, like a whore, unpack my heart with words and fall a-cursing like a drab scullion. Firepont, about my brain. I have heard that guilty creatures sitting at a play have, by the very cunning of the scene, been struck so to the soul that presently they have proclaimed their malfactions. Though murder, though it hath no tongue, speaks with most miraculous organ. I'll have these plays play something like the murder of my father before mine uncle. I'll observe his looks and tempt him to the quick. If he but blench, I know my course. The spirit I have seen may be the devil, as the devil hath power to assume a pleasing shape. Yea, and out of my weakness and melancholy, as he is very potent with such spirits, abuses to damn me. I'll have grounds more relative than this. The play's the thing wherein I'll catch the conscience of the king.
We've talked a lot about spontaneity with these young people and making their speeches not seem too practiced. And I've seen that speech many, many times, but I think I get it now. I think I get it now. It's just a wonderful performance. So, the clown in Shakespeare. Many, many different types. Will Kemp, who danced from London to Norwich. But here we have quite a different clown, or maybe a contemplative clown. An interesting character. We've seen this speech already once today. It's quite an inspirational speech. But here's another version of it by Toby from Colton Grammar School, who's performing as Jacques from As You Like It.
Hello there, my name is Toby. I have come here today from Colleton Grammar School in Devon in Collyford. Colleton is actually a real place, but the reason why it's called Colleton Grammar School and not Collyford Grammar School is actually a really interesting reason. It's because, I'm 99% sure at least, that the original Colleton Grammar School, which was in Colleton, burnt down. Remind you of something? The globe, I'm talking about the globe if you can't tell. So, anyway, with that out the way, As You Like It, first and foremost, is a romantic comedy. And yet you have this character, Jacques, he is the embodiment of melancholy. He can suck the melancholy out of a poem like a weasel sucks an egg. His words, not mine. And it's this juxtaposition, this extreme contrast, that leads me to one conclusion. Jacques is the comic relief character in As You Like It. Now, Shakespeare's plays have quite a lot of comic relief characters. The most famous example is probably the nurse from Romeo and Juliet. Toby, I hear you say, it is Touchstone that is the comic relief character in As You Like It by William Shakespeare. And I hear your point, but Touchstone is a very slapstick fool. And although he might be the comic relief character to the actual characters in the play, to the audience, it's Jack. He's the more funny one. I hope I can make you laugh. I think if I heard you laugh already, so that's right. Why did I choose this piece in particular? Well, firstly, the first reason is that I think this is a brilliant example of Shakespeare's capabilities to write such a phenomenal, brilliant poem, his literary prowess. It's just fantastic. And the second reason is because it's very morbid and it talks about how everybody dies. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think that's a very good note to end my introduction on. So instead, I'm going to try and lighten it up by talking about a quote. Now, it's not a quote in a traditional sense, but it is from Touchstone, who I mentioned earlier. Now, three acts specifically, after this piece, he refers to Jacques in a conversation with him as Mr. Mr. is a more modern thing, Master, what you call it. Now, why does he do this instead of calling him Master Jacques like he normally would do? Well, I believe the reason for this comes from how I've been pronouncing my character's name. Now, I've been calling him Jacques, right? But there are also a few other pronunciations, Jacques and Jakes. Now, Jakes in particular is the more notable one here, because Jakes is an example of 16th century slang. Slang for what? Slang for toilet. And so, if you really wanted, you could interpret me, or Jacques in this case, as talking a load of you-know-what. And talking a load of you-know-what really is just another way of saying wasting everybody's time, isn't it? And I don't really want to waste much more of your time, and I think I should get on with my performance. Get my charm. Which chair do I choose? I know, I'll ask someone in the audience. I've never been one for democracy, so I'll just ask one person. Mum in the green dress up there. Which chair should I choose? Yes, you. Chair A over here, or chair B? Chair A, so here. Got it, thank you. You cemented your place in history. Right, now I really do think I should get on with it this time. So, all the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances. And one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being seven ages. At first, the infant, wheeling and puking in the nurse's arms. Then the whining schoolboy with his satchel and shining morning face, creeping like snail unwillingly to school. And then the lover, sighing like furnace, with a woeful ballad made to his mistress' eyebrow. Then a soldier, full of strange oaths and bearded like the pard, jealous in honour, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation, even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice in fair round belly, with good capon lined, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances. And so he plays his part. The sixth age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side. His youthful hose well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank and big manly voice, turning again toward childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all that ends this strange, eventful history is second childishness, a mere oblivion. Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything.
Get off. It was that speech that changed my life. I toured As You Like It for 5 months, and despite the fact that it literally rained every single day of the tour, and we were performing outdoors, it was an utterly hilarious production. But night after night after night, it was that speech that rendered our audience silent, where you could almost hear a pin drop. And from that point, my obsession with Shakespeare began. What was it that made our audience feel so much about that speech? What was it that made our audiences go so quiet? And it changed my life. And having met Toby on several occasions, I have a sneaking suspicion that that speech may well have also changed his life. Now we are nearly there, ladies and gentlemen, just 2 more performances to go. So we are now, bless you, we are now moving on to Ishari and Kishori, who are from the Robinson Drama Academy, performing as Helena and Hermia in A Midsummer Night's Dream.
Hello everyone, I'm Ishvari.
And I'm Kishori.
And today we are going to be presenting to you Helena and Hermia, the fight scene.
From A Midsummer Night's Dream, Act 3, Scene 2.
I'm playing Hermia, daughter of Julius.
And I'm playing Helena, Hermia's best friend, although you wouldn't think it in this scene.
The whole play revolves around Hermia and her best friend Helena. When Hermia runs into the woods with her lover Lysander, Demetrius, the man of her father's choice, follows them. Helena follows Demetrius because she is really in love with him and she wishes she could win his love. In the woods, they come across Oberon and Titania, king and queen of the fairies. Much confusion is created when a cheeky little fairy called Puck puts love drops in both Lysander and Demetrius's eyes, making them both fall in love with Helena, which isn't so great for me. In this scene, Helena is really confused and lost at why Lysander and Demetrius, who have shown no interest in her before, are now suddenly crazy for her. But on the other hand, Hermia could not be more furious that it looks like her best friend has stolen away the love of her life. We absolutely love this play, and this scene especially, because one of the main points of this fight is height, and it does remind us of some of the arguments we've had.
Maybe not quite so bad. As sisters, we have been known to compete for who's taller.
We also feel that the love and the drama of this play could easily translate into something of 2023. The relationship issues in this scene could be something you hear about in celebrity gossip or reality TV. We hope you enjoyed this scene. Thank you.
Oh me! You juggler! You canker blossom! You thief of love! What? Have you come by night and stolen my love's heart from him?
Fine. I'faith, have you no modesty? No maiden shame? No touch of bashfulness? What will you tear impatient answers from my gentle tongue? Fie, fie! You counterfeit! You puppet, you!
Puppet? Why so?
Aye, that way goes the game. Now I perceive she hath made compare between our statures. She hath urged her height, and with her personage, her tall personage, her height, forsooth, she hath prevailed with him. And are you grown so high in his esteem because I am so dwarfish and so low? How low am I, thou painted maypole? Speak! How low am I? I am not yet so low, but that my nails can reach unto thine eyes. I pray you, though you want me gentleman, let her not hurt me. I was never cursed. I have no gift at all in shrewishness. I'm a right maid for my cowardice. Let her not strike me. You perhaps may think, because she is something lower than myself, that I can match her.
Lower? Hark again.
Good Hermia, do not be so bitter with me. I evermore did love you, Hermia, did ever keep your counsels, never wronged you, save that, in love unto Demetrius. I told him of your stealth unto this wood. He followed you. For love, I followed him. But he hath chid me hence, and threatened me, to strike me, spurn me, nay, to kill me too. And now, so you will let me quiet go. To Athens will I bear my folly back, and follow you no further. Ah! Let me go! You see how simple and how fond I am.
Why? Get you gone! Who is that hinders you?
A foolish heart that I leave here behind.
What? With Lysander?
With Demetrius. Oh, when she's angry, she's keen and shrewd. She was a vixen when she went to school, And though she be but little, she is fierce. Little again, nothing but low and little. Why will you suffer her to flout me thus? Let me come to her, you mistress. All this coil is long of you. Nay, go not back. I will not trust you. I no longer stay in your cursed company. Your hands than mine are quicker for a fray. My legs are longer though, to run away. I am amazed and know not what to say.
It's amazing how height is important in families. My dad has a wife, 3 daughters and 6 granddaughters. And every Christmas we get together, we all have to stand in a big long line so that slowly the young ones can make their way up the line and slowly, depressingly, we older ones can make our way down the line. I think my dad is now at the bottom to great satisfaction of his youngest granddaughter. So now our final performance, ladies and gentlemen, before we take a very quick break. And do make sure that you've got all of your slips for the Audience Choice Award ready, because we need to get those collected in very quickly. So our final performance is from Angel from the City of London Academy Shoreditch Park, who will be performing as Phoebe from As You Like It.
Professor John Millen writes, "Comedies head towards marriage, and this could not be any more true than in As You Like It." This play serves as an archetypal Shakespearean comedy. Mistaken identity, humour, and not 1 but 4 marriages. Not even that, but the god of marriage attends the marriage of these 8 characters. Take that, 12th night. But there's something that just doesn't sit right with me. Something that I think we need to talk about. Phoebe and Silvius. Phoebe and Silvius get married after Phoebe is tricked into marrying Silvius by Rosalind, who was disguised as Ganymede. After being insulted by Ganymede and stalked by Silvius, this doesn't sound like a fair and equal partnership. Phoebe actively says that she wants Silvius to leave her alone, which he doesn't. He then says that Phoebe is killing him, which she isn't. He even suggests that he will kill himself if Phoebe doesn't love him. This isn't Romeo and Juliet. All joking aside, in my mind, Phoebe is asking for one thing in this speech from Act 3, Scene 5, respect. She asks to be left alone and is not. Why does she not deserve this respect? Following the COVID-19 pandemic, another pandemic has emerged to the forefront of society, labelled by the UN as a shadow pandemic. Violence against women has increased dramatically, with 1 in 3 women worldwide experiencing physical, emotional, and sexual violence in the hands of a partner. In a world today where we see misogyny, harassment, and violence against women on the rise, Phoebe's words and insistence for that basic human right, respect, rings more true than ever. So when we listen to each other, the world is a better place. Thank you. I would not be thy executioner. I fly thee, for I would not injure thee. Thou tell'st me there is murder in mine eyes. 'Tis pretty sure, and very probable, that eyes, which are the frailest and softest of things, who shuts their coward gates on atomies, should be called tyrants, butchers, murderers. Now I do frown on thee with all my heart, and if mine eyes could wound, now let them kill thee. Counterfeit to swoon, why now fall down? Or if thou canst not, oh for shame, for shame! Lie not to say mine eyes are murderers. Now show the wound mine eye hath made in thee. Scratch thee but with a pin, and there remains some scar of it. Lean but upon a rush, the cicatrice and capable impressure thy palm so moment keeps. But mine eyes which I have darted at thee, hurt thee not. Nor I am sure there is no force in eyes that can do hurt. Thank you.
What time do you want everyone back in? 15, yeah. Well, remind me not to get into an argument with that young lady. Woo! Wow. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us have a massive round of applause for our young performers. Whatever decisions the audience and the judges make, you are all legends. Your performances were incredible. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to remind you that we are now going to take a very quick 10-minute break. If you are late back in through those doors, they will be slammed shut. Latecomers may be admitted, but they will be heckled at. So, get your slips ready, voting for the Don Miller Award. Go and get some fresh air. It's very busy and warm out there. I will see you back in 10 minutes. I made it 10 rather than 15.
Yeah.
don't think we've got everyone back in yet, have we? I don't know. Who's missing from here? Have they gone? Yeah. They've gone? They're not yours. So she doesn't care. She's like, they've gone. We don't care about them. Whatever. Lovely. Well, let me just, can I just, are we good to go? Yes? Excellent. Whew. It's all very exciting. I feel like Ant and Dec, but there's only one of me. Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure to MC for you today. I don't even think I introduced myself. My name's Jen. I am an associate artist here with the English Speaking Union, having worked both at Shakespeare's Birthplace Trust, at Mary Arden's Farm, and also at the Royal Shakespeare Company. I now run a theatre company that is very Shakespearean. It's been born of the pandemic. It's a good news story. My Caliban is sat over there from the production of The Tempest that we've just done, so it's lovely to see Liam here in the audience, and it has just been a pleasure to experience today with you. So what I am going to do now, ladies and gentlemen, is to welcome you all back and to invite the English Speaking Union's Director of Education, Annabel Thomas McGregor, onto the stage to give all of our participants a medal for being simply here today. So ladies and gentlemen, Annabel. Ladies and gentlemen, give a very loud but quite short round of applause for Daniel and Zachary. There's your medal. That's it. Come and stand over here. Brilliant. Well done. There we go. Gentlemen, Luke. And next we have Orla. And here's Eli. Ladies and gentlemen. And can you? Next we've got George and Archie. That's it. And Sam and Tristan. And next we've got Cecilia. That's it. And Toby. We have Angel. Brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, give them a round of applause. They were amazing. Thank you. Have we got the award? Do we know who's won? Oh, it's like the X Factor. I'm just getting the results now. So the votes have been counted and verified. I think that's what they say, isn't it? And it's time to hand out the Don Miller, the Audience Choice Award. And so to present this award, we're going to call Chris to the stage. Chris is Don's son. This award is through is recognition of the many, many years of dedicated service that Don gave to the English Speaking Union. I'm going to keep talking. Shakespeare's a lovely man. He wrote some lovely plays, quite a few of them, about 36 or maybe 37, we think. He lived somewhere here in London and performed at the Globe, sometimes, maybe oftener than we think. Sometimes he was the ghost of Hamlet's father, so that's quite a good one for you, isn't it? Other times he didn't bother at all. And in the later stages of his life, he just went back to Stratford-upon-Avon because he couldn't really be bothered with London anymore because it's quite smelly, isn't it, sometimes? But soft, what light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief that thou hast made our far more fair than she are. It is my lady, it is my love. See how she literally leans her cheek upon her hand. Oh, that I were a glove upon that hand, that I might touch her cheek. Now you have to go, I me.
I me.
She speaks. Oh, speak again, bright angel.
I me.
No. Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo?
Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo?
Deny thy father and refuse thy name.
Deny thy father and refuse thy name.
Or if thou wilt not, be but sworn my love.
Be but sworn my love.
And I'll no longer be a Capulet.
And I'll no longer be a Capulet.
Shall I hear more? Or shall I speak at this? Well done. Excellent. These plays are by the bard. It may be very hard, but we will name them all, but maybe not in order. Much Ado and Dicky too, The Taming of the Shrew, Macbeth, and also Hamlet and King John, Henry V, The Winter's Tale, The Merchant of Venice and King Lear. Shakespeare's writings hold no terrors. When you do there, thank goodness for that, I don't need to go through them all. Excellent, brilliant. Excellent, lovely, well done. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Chris Miller. So, Chris is going to present the Audience Choice Award. Do you have a couple of words to say?
Well, I think I'd just like to say thank you to the ESU for organising this event, because if you didn't, nobody else would. And
Good
I think
point.
it's magnificent, so well
Lovely.
done, ESU.
Thank you very much. Good point, well made. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm absolutely delighted to announce that the Don Miller Award goes to George Slater and Archie Grace from the King's School. Thank you very much. Thank you. Brilliant, well done. Right, now ladies and gentlemen, guys, I think you probably need to bunch yourselves all over here, so if you can bring yourselves all over here. Thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause to Chris, ladies and gentlemen. So hopefully we are now going to call all of our judges back onto the stage, where we're going to get some very brief feedback, and then also we are going to announce the runner-up and the winner of this most incredible event. Oh, they're off. Give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. And hopefully coming through stage right are our esteemed judges. No? No, they're not. Okay. Good. Excellent. Where did we leave off? what was the next one? Henry VI, 1, 2 and 3, Love's Labours, Troilus and as well. Henry VIII, a very late play, but please don't mention R&J. Measure for Measure, The Dream, The Tempest, Cymbeline, Coriolanus, Oh Haru, please keep it clean, and 10 Cleo, Henry IV, both 1 and 2, Dicky 3, of course.
My horse, Kingdom for a Horse.
Yes. As You Like It, Merry Wives of Windsor, 2, Gents of Verona, Time and What a Fellow, Titus Pericles, Othello, Caesar, Alder Roma Geezer, Then Those Noble Kinsmen Bring Us to the End, Our Rhyme is Pen, Knock Knock, Who's There, Fair's Foul, Foul's Fair, We'll Melt into Thin Air, the end. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to go for it now. Ladies and gentlemen, our esteemed judges. Woo! There's Neil. Fabulous. Now on the way.
Okay. Firstly, thank you. Thank you, honestly, because not just for the performances today, which have been astounding. We have all been blown away by the skill, by the ability to adapt to a new performance space, and to be able to connect, particularly for me. I'm not the performer on this stage. I've got my esteemed judges who have got far more in terms of credentials around performance, and I've learned a lot from them today as well. I'm an academic, right? So I write a lot about Shakespeare, I think a lot about Shakespeare, but that means as well as those moving performances that connected with these plays, that's not an easy thing to do. They're over 400 years old, and sometimes Shakespeare is saying stuff that we do not understand, and to find your way into plays to make meaning, that involves you. And you took that on, and you did it bravely, and you did it brilliantly. So we such a tough decision. We had some disagreements. But that really is testament to the fact that you all are deserving to be here as finalists in this competition. So I really do want to say that you've all done brilliantly, and that's sort of my main piece of feedback in that sense. It was great to hear the thinking about the challenges in the piece that you're looking at, and sometimes maybe just lean a little bit more into that and draw those connections between the oracy element and performance that you're going to put forward. But overwhelmingly, just astounding, and for many of us who said we saw something new in a scene that we know really well and a speech that we know really well. And I think you said it as well, Jen, that you move the audience, you connect with them, you make them think something new. So really, really well done. So to announce, firstly, the runner-up. The runner-up is for an excellent and really thoughtful performance is Eli Morris.
Stand there and have your photo taken, that's it. There we go. Here we go. It's going to just have a quick photo. Here we are. Yep.
Come forward a little bit, that's it.
Just one sec.
No, with you guys. That's it.
Lovely. Come on, big smile now. Well done.
Brilliant, and then Eli comes down to
where you can see I'm not a performer, I can't take direction. Okay, so to our winner, or I should say winners. Our winners this year are Ishvari Muti from the Robertson Drama Academy.
moment.
Thank you, everyone. It is my absolute privilege to draw this afternoon's proceedings to a close. I'm Annabelle, Director of Education at the ESU, and what an incredible afternoon it's been. Another round of applause for everybody. A team effort, so I've got a few thank yous to do. First of all, thank you so much to our incredible judging panel. You had such a tough decision. I'm glad it wasn't me. And I hope you enjoyed the afternoon as much as I'm sure we all did as well. Thank you as well to Jen, our incredible compere, for seeing us through this afternoon with such great who I know give up so much time and energy to ensure that these young people have access to arts and oracy education. It's my passion, I know it's your passion, and it's not going to. So thank you to our incredible educators that are here today. Thank you as well to the ESU's members and branches who support this competition and others. Without them, this wouldn't be able to happen at all. They give their time and energy organising heats and volunteering. And if you would like to join our incredibly vibrant and dedicated community, take a look at your programme for more information. But a massive thank you to our ESU members and branches for their support of this entire competition. Thank you as well to the Globe for allowing us to use this amazing space. I think giving young people the opportunity to step on and tread these boards gives such inspiration and confidence, and who knows, one day you might be getting paid to be on this stage, so have a think about that. Thank you all for coming. I hope you have an incredible afternoon, as have I, and that all that remains is for me to wish you good evening, and thank you again. Hopefully we'll see you same place next year.
For one last huge round of applause. Here they are, our performing Shakespeare finalists. Photograph. This is it, folks. This is the last thing you need to do. So best smiles, faces forwards, and for this lot. Here we go in 3, 2, 1, and pose.